Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there, welcome back.
So before we get started, we just wanted to thank our newest patrons.
Oh, thank you so much for Miss Sarah and Miss Christine. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
We definitely couldn't do it without your help over on Patreon, and also all those that have been supporting us through the link that's at the top of every video that takes you to medicinal foods, not just good stuff, things like for detoxing. When we asked the guides, what do you want us to touch on? They said detoxing. People need to detox spiritually, emotionally, and most definitely physically. They also made mention of looking up at the skies and seeing the things that are not put there by Source Creator, but put there by other means.
Yeah, things that are floating down on us as we speak.
And so, they're more than just people that sell good, healthy supplements. They have a lot of articles here, and you could look under the cleanse and detox section and get some good ideas. And again, when you use the link on the videos, then that does support the channel too. So, we got 12 months in the year, right? Okay, there's 12 months in the year. There were 12 apostles. There were also 12 tribes of Israel. All three of those coinkydinks at this point in time. How about the 12 Olympian gods? In the ancient Greek world, the 12 great gods and goddesses of the Greeks were referred to as the Olympian gods, or the 12 Olympians, right? Mount Olympus. We all remember that, right? And many of you might be able to name, quite a few. Can anybody name all of them? I'm just curious. Do you ever wonder, why 12, 12, 12? Then here we take a look, and we look at the 12 Jungian archetypes. And an archetype means original pattern in ancient Greek. So there are these archetypes, these original patterns. Think of this matrix that we find ourselves in. And it is a matrix. What's a matrix? It's something that holds a form and a function, right? It has a purpose, and that purpose, honestly, at the greatest depths of our purpose, it's just all about exploration. It's about self-realization. And one of the first books, if not the first book I ever read on Eastern philosophy, was just simply entitled Self-Realization. It's the path to understanding, why am I the way I am? Who am I in the first place?
And once you start to get a handle on that and start to question and get some answers for yourself, your life magically starts to become easier because you feel more confident going into certain situations. You feel more confident tackling certain chores because you know where your strengths are. And when you know where your strengths are, boy, watch out.
There's so many different ways of looking at numerology as well. Now, we could take 12, right? And we could add it together and it becomes 3. In many ways, 3 is divine. And then we could reference the whole concept of the Trinity and where it originally comes from. 3 times 4, 4 is manifestation times divinity. So divine manifestation equals 12. We could look at it that way. There's so many different ways we could look at things, and it doesn't mean that any one way is necessarily right or wrong, because each one of us, again, is looking from a different lens. So even though we have these 12 basic archetypes, and you might say, well, I'm definitely the hero. It's all about mastery, right? Leaving a mark on society. And somebody else might say, well, I'm definitely a caregiver. I'm all about helping others and providing structure and how others can be helped. Now, somebody else might say, well, I kind of view myself as an outlaw in a way, but kind of also a lover. Sounds like we're going to do an Eagles song or something like that. Yeah.
Like that.
No, that was Steve Miller. That's right, Steve Miller Band. And might see themselves as almost an equal part of more than one archetype, or maybe 2 or 3, or maybe 3 or 4. Or maybe it'll change as you grow through different phases in life. Because we really do go through completely different periods in life. And right off the type, I always get this one messed up too. Is it the female cycle that's in 6s and the male in 7s, or is it vice versa?
Indeed, I'll agree.
Okay. She's good at that stuff. I forget which way it goes. I always forget which way it goes. But when you look at my life, as Sassy's in strong disagreement here.
She's excited about everything. She can't help it. Sorry, guys. I hope you're not stuck to the ceiling.
Yeah, somebody mentioned, wow, Sassy sounded demonic out there. Yeah, I was thinking yesterday's video.
Sorry.
But you can see these different archetypes, and you can be a combination of them. And you might start out as a child being one of them and just grow as time goes on and actually find yourself living life as a different archetype as time goes on. So when you look at these archetypes that Jung was talking about, you have the ruler, the creator artist, the sage, the innocent, explorer, rebel, hero, wizard, jester, everyman, lover, and caregiver. It's interesting to look at things along these lines. These are all tendencies. Now, of course, we can go and we can look at other ways of looking at it. We could look at the 12 apostles as archetypes. Really, we could look at the 12 Olympian gods as archetypes. 12 tribes of Israel. We could all look at them from the standpoint of them all being referring to archetypal patterns.
Well, I think it's really important when they're telling stories and writing books they like to try to personify things, so that we can understand.
Absolutely. This is one of the things that we've gotten from the guides when we were talking to guides that were actually in the Mahabharata and, the great epic of India. We got that they said, this great epic is so revered, just like the Bible is so revered in Western circles. Yet they refer to it as, well, if the stories help you to understand, if the stories lift you up, if the stories give you hope, then that's great. And what hit me is what they were saying. They're saying, if the stories. Mm-hmm. So you mean it didn't happen word for word? And right there, even in, the greatest classic of India, the actual guides, the actual devas are telling us that they're referring to them as stories. This is where, wow, it's like, okay, you gotta look a little bit deeper than at surface level and at a literal surface level. Mm-hmm. It's much deeper than that. Again, when we look at Jacob's ladder and we look at it in the terms of climbing the ascension ladder to wrestle with God, where? At pineal, right? Pineal. Mm-hmm. It's all a metaphor.
It is. It's important to understand these things too, so that we can get a grasp on life, because we're so not told where we're from. And if we don't know where we're from, how can we know where we're going?
Exactly. And the same thing here, that it gets into the 12 Olympian gods again. And, we could view so many things from that light. So what's it really talking about? Well, why do we have these tendencies in the first place? And really, it all comes down to astrology. Mm-hmm. And we were talking about Nostradamus, and, he was big into astrology. And that was the only occult, quote unquote, art that was tolerated by the church in the Middle Ages and the Dark Ages. The only one.
And it's not, even really an art. I know way back then there was a lot more information when it came to understanding astrological sciences. Unfortunately, a lot of those books have been destroyed or hidden or lost. So now we still have a lot of this science, but we're having to piece it back together again. But there's still a lot of information to go by for self-realization.
Exactly. And all of us are source. We all have that true creator within us. And source is exploring its own creation every single way it could possibly do it. That's really all that there is in a nutshell. And out of the nutshell. Is there really a nutshell? What's the sound of two nutshells clapping?
I know.
Well, what's the sound of one nutshell clapping?
I know. I'm not sure, but why do they call it apartments if they're together?
Okay.
Anyway.
Good. So, you get into all these, we could break all this stuff down. You have movable and you have fixed signs. The movable signs are Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn. They represent activity, adaptability, movement, change, speed, reform, dissatisfaction, independence, moving on, and flexibility, leading to rapid changes. Your fixed signs are Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius. They represent headstrong temperament, rigidity, steadiness, calm, resolute and slow, but steady nature, determination, accumulation, remain in one place or job for many years, fixed opinions on religion and spirituality. Then you have the dual signs, Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, Pisces. These represent a mix of both movable and fixed signs, and hence they have a dual nature. They are keen on learning, scholarly, philosophical, interested in reading and writing, good at communicating, preaching, and teaching, open to ideas, good at learning, multitasking, and exploring many options. I myself am a dual Gemini. So
Very much so.
It does give you an insight into kind of archetypes, because everything is light, and you have referred to astrology as the science of light.
It is. That's what it means. It's the science of light and how that light reflects off the human body and what reactions we have from that light. So the sages spent many days and many nights studying the planetary alignments and people's behavior.
Absolutely. So we could break down the signs according to the four elements, which you guys might be familiar with. So you have 4 types of zodiac signs according to the element: fire, earth, wind, and water. The fire signs are Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. They represent passion, energy, aggression, leadership, dominance, decisiveness, frankness, extroversion, brilliance, anger, and fast metabolism. They are pioneering, active, spontaneous, self-centered, inspiring, love activity and movement, and exploration. They are stubborn, impulsive, and impatient. The earth signs are Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. They're practical, analytical, methodical, slow and steady, patient and persevering, realistic and down to earth. They rise up in life slowly and steadily. They love reality as opposed to imagination. Earthy signs are born sluggish, excellent business skills, resilient, materialistic, planners and managers, reliable and trustworthy. Then your air signs are Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. They are quick thinkers, intellectual, good communicators, keen to learn, excellent writers, speakers, move quickly, love to travel. And boy, I do love to travel, most definitely. They feel that journey matters more than destination. Yes, it's all about the ride. Even today, this is what we were talking to the Galactics about, and they were, talking about what's going on in the world, how it does look like the powers that be are putting the conditions in effect that they're waiting for an accident to happen. They're waiting for one faulty judgment that could trigger, WW hashtag big number 3.
Mm-hmm.
Because all the conditions are there for it. And yet, honestly, I feel so much love and peace in my heart that I was just asking them, what's the best thing to do? Is it not still cultivate the soul, cultivate the inner child, explore, imagine, and create? Because we could, fret all our time away. We could worry all our time away. And it might be, a long way off. We don't really know. The, prognosis is it looks like the timelines are heading towards something major, but we still have time to change that. How do we change that? Well, we change it by, sharing more love, peace, and compassion on the earth ourselves. So it doesn't mean, again, that we bury our heads in the sand and say, la, 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 I can't hear anything bad that's happening. It's more that we prepare for the worst, but we cultivate the best in ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. These are times where we really need to do that. So important, and not just for ourselves. What about our loved ones that look up to us, our loved ones that we are in charge of, those that need the comforts and they need the understandings. Taking care of ourselves needs to come first so that we can turn that attention to others too.
Absolutely. So I feel like I'm seeing through revitalized eyes lately as more peace is cultivated. And I've been doing that honestly, by going within. And I have been taking a little bit more time for myself. So, now my wife will catch me just staring at her, and I know her mind is saying, what, do I have a little smudge on my face? Is a little bit of that shake still, dripping down my chin? And I'm just looking at that face saying, I'm so glad to be able to look at that face every day.
Wow, isn't it precious? As do I.
And just appreciating every moment.
Every moment.
Again, it's about the journey, guys. It truly, truly is. So the air signs are Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. They're quick thinkers, intellectual, good communicators, keen to learn, excellent writers and speakers, move quickly, love to travel. They feel that journey matters more than destination. Don't forget that part, because we are definitely on this ride together, and it might get a little bit scary. It might be buckle in time, but still, eventually, we're going to step off this ride. Mm-hmm. And so what do we glean? What do we learn from this ride? The water signs are Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. Are emotional, intuitive, sensitive, passionate. They like to collect and hoard things, have a nurturing, caring attitude, are imaginative, forgiving, introvert in nature, dreamy, psychic, secretive, tend to go by intuition rather than the facts, and have a tendency to gain weight. So it gets into the individual tendencies of each of the signs, which we have talked about and we will talk about in other videos. But I really wanted to primarily tap into this train of thought about everything. And here's an article by Shelley Wilson looking at the Archangels as archetypes of energy. They are just that. Absolutely. They are archetypes of energy. In fact, they are, in some ways, creation itself, the method, the mode, how creation comes into being through archetypal, energetic, elemental forces. As we look at Uriel, earth, and Gabriel, water, Raphael, air, and Michael, fire. They are also, in command of those elements. And as we've talked about this hierarchy, they're very, very high up. Mm-hmm. And, the forces of the elements are underneath them.
Absolutely. So they have a lot of control. They can help. They need to be invited into your life. They have a lot of power. They have a lot of skill. They've seen a lot of things, and these are beings that you can lean into and help yourself gain understanding, gain wisdom. Whoever you feel drawn to, that is most likely the one that watches over you, that you can reach out to the easiest. So it's very curious how they do their work. Be open-minded. Stay open-minded when it comes to working with the Archangels, because they work at things in different ways that you might not imagine. You might not even see them until much later in your life. You'd be like, oh, okay, well, that's why that happened. So this could happen. And these are these Archangels that do beautiful work.
And it could be that you look at your, your astrological chart and you say, wow, water predominates. No wonder I've always kind of been drawn to Gabriel. Mm-hmm. It might not be exactly the case, though. It could be different, and past lives do affect things as well. So all very interesting to think about this. And it's the same thing with the ascended masters, with the guides, the gods, the devas, all these different benevolent beings, whether we're talking again about Mary Magdalene or Mother Mary. Mary Magdalene likes Miriam. Mm-hmm. That's her name that she prefers to go by, which is the Hebrew, the original Hebrew. Mother Mary is okay with either, by the way. You might be drawn to Yeshua, you might be drawn to Archangel Michael, you might be drawn to all these different beings like Kuan Yin or Aset Isis, or perhaps to Lakshmi or Parvati or Sarasvati, the embodiment of wisdom, or maybe Krishna in his fun-loving attitude,
or Ganesh or Shiva,
or Lord Ganesh or Shiva, or any of these beings. They're all benevolent beings, all of them. And again, to think that because you're coming out of one particular system, one particular mindset, that anything that's not of that tradition has to be dark and evil is really pure ignorance. And it's so sad, to see this misunderstanding. But then again, it's the controllers that have implanted that into us. This is part of their control system. They always get us suspicious of everything that is not what we are familiar with. So this got me thinking, well, why don't we just go into it? Because sometimes we do talk to people when we're having our sessions about their doshas. Well, what's your doshas? Mm-hmm. Again, it's kind of like tendencies. It's that elemental energetic tendencies. There's 3 doshas. There's Vata, Kapha, and Pitta. Now, you might find that you're Pitta predominant, and yet you might find that you're craving stuff that's going to make you more Pitta. See, life is about balance. It's about balance and harmony. And even though we have certain tendencies, we have to somehow try to stay in balance and harmony. So understanding your own personal makeup can really go a long way to creating harmony and balance in your body as well as your mind.
So important. Balance, when it really comes down to it, balance is so everything. That's been one of the biggest struggles in my life too. And you would think with me being like the Libra rising, I would be balanced. But no. In my case, I'm probably the most unbalanced. And that's actually one of my life goals, is to find balance in my life. So it's all very curious.
So Vata, basically the energies of Vata, symbolized by the time of year, is late fall, early winter. Cold, dry, light, swift, mobile, and irregular. These people tend to be thin, light, wiry frame, long tapered fingers and toes, small dark eyes, smaller mouths, thin lips. Tend to have dryness of the skin, hair, lips, and joints, irregularity in their bones, teeth, hair, and spine, extreme sensitivity to cold, wind, dry weather, cold extremes, extremities like hands, feet, and nose, erratic appetites, irregular digestion, may suffer from arthritis like fibromyalgia, anxiety, migraines, irregular menstrual cycles with premenstrual physical and emotional symptoms, light restless sleep, very active mind, creative, artistic, imaginative ideas, and their ideas change often, open and tolerant of others, energetic but very sporadic. Kapha, symbolized by late winter and early spring, cool, wet, oily, heavy, dense, static, and stable. Stocky build, large, strong frame, tendency to gain weight easily and develop a well-developed chest. Large, attractive blue or light brown eyes, thick eyelashes, round faces, full lips, soft, thick, oily hair that's wavy and plentiful, intolerant of cold or damp environments, cool extremities and maybe clammy, steady appetite with slow but regular bowel movements and minimal urination, tendency towards colds, congestion, allergies, water retention, sluggish digestive systems, regular menstrual cycles with little premenstrual symptoms, heavy sleepers with a tendency to oversleep, easygoing, fun-loving, patient, slower moving, endurance, grounded disposition, resistant towards change. And then Pitta is exemplified by summer, hot, oily, light, liquid, mobile, sharp, soft, smooth, medium-sized build, moderate muscle tone, ruddy coloring, medium-sized eyes that are light in color. Skin is fair, warm, reddish, soft, moist, many freckles and moles, tendency towards rashes or acne. Soft, thin, light-colored or reddish hair, tendency to gray or bald early. Burn easily in sun, sensitive to heat and humidity. Extremities are warm with good circulation. Robust, healthy appetites. Become irritable if they skip a meal. Prone to inflammation of muscles and tissues, especially in the shoulders and mid-back where they accumulate stress, indigestion, and heartburn. Regular menstrual cycles with heavy bleeding and PMS. Light but moderately good sleep. Often overheated during sleep with a tendency to burn candle at both ends. Intelligent, powerful, clear, focused mind. Aggressive, quick temper, competitive, workaholic, overly ambitious, great conversationalist. So I've noticed myself over the years, I've been a mix of Pitta and Vata. and it's fluctuated with sometimes one dominating more than the other. And it can change. It most definitely can change over time as we go through our own cycles.
Oh, absolutely. We change, hormones change, life changes you. So, that's why it's really important to stay kind of open-minded and flexible, and don't get locked into one particular belief system, because sometimes that can kind of handicap us.
Absolutely. When you're locked into a mindset, there's no growth. There's no chance for growth. You're just basically going to be, keeping the engine in neutral, and you might rev it at times, but you're not going to go anywhere. And we have the Chinese 5-element system, which is all based on balance, all about balance. As you see, from one element tends to lead towards another, and there's also this crisscross effect. And what do we get in the middle? We get the 5-pointed star with the middle point up. And again, that also represents man itself. It represents us, the microcosm. And in many ways, we could view the 6-pointed star as the macrocosm. As above, so below. There's different cycles and different energies. So I have 2 of these dosha tests links I'm going to put there in the video too. And, maybe check out both, because I've done it before. Well, one will give me, just like 1 or 2% more pitta than vata. The other one might have me 1 or 2% more vata than pitta. But it gives you an understanding. And then there's all sorts of dietary recommendations depending on your dosha, because you don't want to make that imbalance worse.
No, no, you don't.
And then we could get into blood types and talking about blood types in food. So, I mean, it's all very fascinating. One thing leads to another, but we have to understand too, like when we're looking at all these stories and we're wondering, why do these numbers keep popping up? It's because, again, it's archetypal forces. And again, when we look at astrology, it's the study of light, because every single star we see, every single planet is a consciousness. And they all have their own unique personalities. They have their own doshas, so to speak. They have their own energetic signature. They have their own tendencies, just like we do. And so they also influence us greatly.
Very much so.
Yeah, very interesting. And this gets into Chinese 5 elements and philosophy and culture. All about balance. That is so key. And detox, detox, detox. When we are being bombarded with all sorts of pathogens, and again, Sassy's getting really mad when we're talking about what they're doing in those skies.
I know.
And not just in the skies. Look at the water. Look at how the food is treated. Do you know some food is actually irradiated before it's put out there for you? Oh, that's just what I want. Give me a splash of radiation on there, will you?
I know, just a few drops. Everybody needs that, for sure.
Sass, I know it's bad, but let's not talk about it that way.
Right.
Okay, so now that she's done venting, this is Dr. Mindy Pelz, who we've talked about many times. And, one of the greatest tools that's really caught on a ton is intermittent fasting, and fasting in general. So, she is one of the best resources on fasting that we know of. So again, I'll put the link for her channel. Amazing resource. Gets into all different topics, fasting and minerals, 72-hour fast, mastering dry fasting, intermittent fasting.
And I must mention with this, for the women out there who are fasting, it does matter how you fast with your cycle, because that can really make it or break it. So I try to spend a little more time learning how to fast with my cycle, so my body is flowing, in harmony and not working against itself.
And it's a good thing to ease into things gently. Now, many women out there we're hearing are having, as we had said, very, very irregular
Cycles, things going on that are not normal, either too long of cycles, maybe too short of cycles, but definitely irregular. And this has been going on for, I don't know, quite a few months now, seems like, since certain things have been circulating amongst us.
Yeah, so if you are having more of a heavier, or we've actually heard of people having a cycle
Twice a month,
every 2 weeks, then it might be almost impossible for you to fast. But It depends on the person, depends on many different things, your blood sugar, are you a diabetic? And you can find all your answers, a lot of answers here for sure.
Yeah, she'll give you all your answers. So just please do your research for yourself.
Absolutely. So we want to, again, thank you guys for your support on Ko-Fi and Patreon. We couldn't do it without you. Thank you also for the support over Medicinal Foods. As always, be prepared. God bless and namaste.
Namaste.